Normally wouldn't feel good about getting a split in a series, but I'm feeling pretty good about it after the Dodgers dominated those first two games and the Brewers came back, come from behind fashion, win the last two. It doesn't get any easier with Cleveland coming into town. They're going to be a tough out this weekend. We'll get to that series as well on this edition of Locked On.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How you doing again, everybody? Man, like I said, I feel like the Dodgers have been here for like 2 months. And the Brewers, in an emotional series, I want to say, gain a split in this 4 games set, and they win on Thursday afternoon, coming back and winning 6-4. Good to have you along, Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freeman, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin and proud host of Locked On Brewers, my favorite sports team here in Wisconsin. It is great talking to you, all you great Brewer fans. We'll tell you how you get the episodes, how you become a subscriber. It's all free. It's all free. We'll get to that a little bit later on here in the show. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use the promo code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for that first deposit match up to $100. Yeah, I mean, normally you would say, well, gaining a split, what's that like? But, you know, this could have very easily went the other way for the Milwaukee Brewers because they trailed in both of these final 2 games of the series against LA and then were able to rally both on Wednesday and then Thursday, down 4-3 in the bottom half of the 8th inning, scoring 3 runs and getting the job done. And yeah, they had some luck on their side, balls going off people's feet and all that, and potential double play balls. But you know what? Hey, it's about time some breaks went our way, right? I mean, let's face it. We've had 54 years of bad breaks of the Milwaukee Brewers. They earned that victory and gain a split. So I won't have to complain anything about small market, large market. The Brewers were able to take down the large market Dodgers in the final 2 games. And with that, hey, nothing lost, nothing gained in this series. They're still, the Brewers, a game behind the Dodgers in the loss column. So long, LA. We won't see you to the postseason. Hopefully. Brewers now 9 games up in the division. 9 games up in the division. Would have thought that. 9 games up. Not taking it certainly for granted, but man, things are looking good. Everybody else in the division had the day off. The Brewers gained a half a game on St. Louis. But a huge spot to get a victory in. Yeah, they could have lost Wednesday night. They could have Thursday. Things were not looking good after they jumped out to a 3-0 lead. And we thought that the Brewers were, at least I did, they got off to a 3-0 lead. And I had visions of that game against Atlanta last week when the Brewers had that big first inning against the Braves. And, the Jackson Chourio, a 2-run home run. Will Contreras, both absolute bombs. And I'm feeling pretty good at this point. Tobias Myers on the hill. He gives up a 3-run inning. Dodgers eventually take a 4-3 lead. Elvis Peguero, we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. And then, the 3-run 8th inning off Daniel Hudson and the Dodger bullpen does the trick. But how about that? 2 days in a row, Devin Williams. He sets down the side, the 3 MVPs in order on Wednesday night, Ohtani, Betts, and Freddie Freeman. And after the game, he's a no-nonsense guy talking about, well, hey, I may be asked to do that tomorrow night. And sure enough, comes the top of the 9th inning. He's facing 2 of those 3. He strikes out Betts and strikes out Ohtani to end the game. Only fitting, he strikes out Ohtani to end the game, and the Brewers get the victory. So Williams has 2 of his 3 saves in the last 24 hours. Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman go combined 0 for 5 with 3 Ks in the 2 days. Williams back to his MVP type form, Rookie of the Year type form, Cy Young Award winning form right there for Devin Williams. Man, he looked just absolutely fantastic. And again, he's striking out, and they're all major league players, but to strike out those caliber of guys and retire those guys, 5 of 6 guys he faced MVP candidates, MVP winners. that top of the order, we've talked about how amazing that is. But for him to shut the door both days and getting the job done, guess reaffirms in our mind, after he had been on the shelf for 4 months, Devin Williams, one of the great closers in the game. We'll see another one coming up this weekend with Emmanuel Clase with Cleveland. We'll talk more about that coming up here in a little bit. But yeah, Contreras, another home run, a 2-run bomb in the first inning, a 2-run bomb off Jack Flaherty. And I was like, oh, Jack Flaherty, I was ticked off when he went to the Dodgers on deadline day. And of course, I wanted him here. And then the Brewers get to him in the first inning. Now, he did settle down, but still the Brewers tagged him from some early offense. I think that momentum is building there for Chourio for Rookie of the Year. It just keeps coming up in big moments. Again, I think with the Rookie of the Year, MVP, and stuff like that, you look at big moments that he's come through for the Brewers. You just don't look at a guy who's going to feed the stat chart, okay, and a box score stuffer. He's a guy, when you look at moments where he's come up, and I said this with Yelich back in those MVP years, the MVP year, and even the years after that, you look at all the big moments that Yelich has had, and I think that's where you label it an MVP. Now, Rookie of the Year, I think the same thing. Okay, we see this team play on a daily basis. Chourio coming up, big moment after big moment, delivering early on, coming off the game on Wednesday, hitting a 2-run home run in the first inning. That's a big moment. But he's in one big moment after another and delivering on this team, delivering on a first-place team, not a team that doesn't have any pressure on them. And as a bottom feeder, this is a team that's contending right now, division leading, and you got a 20-year-old rookie in the heart of the order, no matter where you put him in the lineup, producing time in, time out. Again, these postseason awards, I'm to a point where I don't care about them anymore. It's a nice accolade, but I want championships. I want playoff victories, okay? It would be nice for Chourio to win Rookie of the Year. Certainly would, especially since, he can't use that as bargaining power against the Brewers because they got him for the next 8 years. But, yeah, he's definitely, without question, one of the top rookies in the year. Throw out the stats. Just look at the big moments that Chourio has had. All right. With that in mind, Cleveland coming to town next. We'll talk more about that series coming up next here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We got to talk about PrizePicks here. PrizePicks is such a good deal. If you're in the daily fantasy sports, you got to check out PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, PrizePicks, it's you against the numbers. Anywhere from 2 to 6 player stat projections, going over or under on their projections, and you could be a big winner. Get in all the daily action with your friends. Become a PrizePicks daily community today. You could turn 100 times. You could win 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You could turn 10 into 1,000 picks. So what you got to do, though, download the PrizePicks app right now. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get that first deposit match up to $100. Locked On MLB, PrizePicks, deposit match up to $100. And pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Maybe you like this series with Ramirez come to town with Cleveland. Maybe you like over on home runs. All right. Maybe you like Terang on over hits. He's starting to heat up. He had a big game again. Something like that. More or less do it all with PrizePicks. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Trevor McGill. Weather, we've had the roof was closed at AmFam Field Thursday because of weather, rain. It's been raining. I don't know if McGill is going to get his work in Appleton, just up the road on Highway 41, but he was supposed to have start his rehab assignment in Appleton on Thursday night. Don't know if the game is being played because we're recording this as as the game time approaches. So, but as Elvis Peguero goes, man, he came in relieved Tobias Myers there in the 6th inning and gave up a base hit right away. And I snatched this off of Kurt Hoag's Twitter account, and he's one of the beat writers who cover the Brewers for the Journal Sentinel. Says 15 of the last 24 inherited runners have scored. 15 of the last 24. That's not good. 15 of the last 24 for Pagero. I don't know. We got to stop putting this guy in high leverage situations. We got to start looking at some stats. They got all these analytic guys with the Brewers. Why do we keep running Pagero in the high leverage spots when obviously he's been failing? All right. Well, we got a pennant to win here. 15 of 24 inherited runners have scored. So let's get him out of there. And he got the final out in the inning, but the damage was done. Gave up a weak ground ball, RBI base hit on the first pitch. But let's get him out of there. McGill, hopefully things go well. If he's doing it Thursday, if it's rained out Friday, whenever. Let's get him back soon. Spring training. By the way, the spring training schedule is out, and obviously you can't win-loss a spring training schedule. When I look at that being released, I look at it like, well, it's time to plan going to Arizona. You want to see, the dates you want to go and see certain teams. So with that spring training schedule, I'm sure people look at it and say, well, I like to be in Arizona those dates. So you schedule your tee times, your hotels and everything. You're going to see the Brewers. So the spring training schedule is out. Like I said, the Guardians are here for a first of 3 on Friday night. They're leading their division in the American League Central. Just having a great year. And they have an amazing bullpen. Emmanuel Clase. When you talk about closers, I was talking about Devin Williams being one of the best in the game. Whether or not he is, that's debatable, because Clase, 37 saves, a .064 earned run average. You can't deny what Clase is doing. He is having a Mariano Rivera type year. One of the all-time great years for a closer. Emmanuel Clase is having it. That guy has just got nasty stuff. Hopefully, we do not see him here in the series. The Cleveland Guardians coming off a 3-game sweep of the Cubs. Ramirez, 31 homers, 27 doubles. Stephen Kwan, his .325 batting average. Had 5 All-Stars with Clase, Ramirez, Kwan. Josh Nagler's got 26 home runs. David Fry, kind of a utility guy for them. So a real good team coming in with the Cleveland Guardians. Just part of this tough August schedule that we got. So we're going to talk more. We got an interview coming up. We're going to talk more about the Cleveland Guardians coming up here in a little bit. Want to let you know that Locked On Brewers will be rejoining you again on Sunday night. This is Friday's episode, and we'll try to keep in touch with you guys with Twitter and all that this weekend. Please tune into that. But Locked On Brewers, there's Locked On Brewers, Locked On Indians, Locked On everything out there. And we're going to get to an interview with our man from Locked On Guardians. The guy's been covering the Guardians all season long. We're going to get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This show is brought to you in part by Liquid IV. Liquid IV, I was telling you, I saw it at the store counter the other day when I went to go get my gas. When you're taking in America's pastime, you're going to go out to the games this weekend. Don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV. Popsicle firecracker flavor. It's a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, the essential vitamins, clinically tested nutrients, the #1 powdered hydration drink in America. Liquid IV, hydration to the max. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients. Go to the counter, or better yet, go to the website, liquidiv.com, and use promo code MLB at the checkout. You'll get 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using the promo code MLB. Liquidiv.com, promo code MLB. Your flavors are there, but blast off with the iconic summer flavor of Popsicle Firecracker. It's a blended of lemon, lime, tart cherry, raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on their website, from lemon lime to pina colada, you can name it. It's all there on liquidiv.com. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Christian Yelich announced that he's going to miss the rest of the season And I was telling you guys about this a couple of weeks ago. I said, don't count on Yelich to come back. They were going to try to rehab it with stretching exercises, rehab, and it wasn't working. So they tried everything, and hopefully this is going to be the correction of Christian Yelich's chronic back problems from years to come. He put out a video on Thursday night talking about it. Says he's going to miss the rest of the season. Talked about that he thinks that the Brewers are not going to miss a heartbeat, throwing his weight behind the rest of the team and all that. But he's going to have surgery on Friday, ending his season. This is why I wanted to go out and get another bat in the order, in the heart of the order for the Milwaukee Brewers. And some people will say, well, they're just fine. Well, they're not fine. They need a heart of the order bat to replace Yelich. They needed to do this at the trading deadline, and the Brewers didn't do it. And I was fearful that he was going to miss the rest of the season. Now, we want him to come back healthy and ready to go and pick up where he did, because he was having a pretty good year, a fantastic year. But the Brewers needed to go out and get themselves another bat at the trading deadline. They said, I'm good, we're good. We didn't need it. And that was the disappointing part of the trading deadline for me. The Brewers did not go out and get themselves another bat. Now, he's going to have a long time to rehab, off-season, going through his whatever he needs to do to strengthen up his back again. And we'll see how he is by spring training, as he's on the other side of 30 right now, obviously. And we'll see how the back surgery. We're the best to him, because we want him to be productive for his sake, the Brewers' sake, for the $26 million that they owe him. We want Yelich to be productive, get back to health. We want him to get back to health on a personal basis, and then get back to helping this team as well. And hopefully he's on that road with the surgery that he's going to have. I'm glad he's not waiting until later in the season. He's having it done now, and that'll give him more time to get ready, an extra couple of months here to get ready for next spring training. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. We're joined by Jeff Ellis from Locked On Guardians, who's great to make some time with us as the Guardians make their trip into Milwaukee for a 3-game set in first place. And Jeff, thanks for coming on the show. The Cleveland Guardians, and forgive me if I call them the Indians, well, at least once, but I'm old school. I'm still trying to go with Guardians here, but the Guardians, the way they are, legitimate contender, World Series contender in the American League. How do you see the season so far? Because you guys are having a fantastic season.
Listen, I don't think anyone expected it. Anyone who says they did, I'm going to question their sanity a little, especially because, and we spent most of the offseason waiting for them to trade Shane Bieber, and then they didn't, and they never really got close, and then he turns around and gets hurt. Their number 2 pitcher, Tristan McKenzie, is currently in AAA for being ineffective. Devin Williams was arguably their 3rd or 4th starter to start the year, and then he missed the first 3 months with health. They have had about as many pitching woes as a team can have. Tanner is the last guy standing from the original rotation, Tanner Bybee, at the start of the year. And they really had to get by with a lot of replacements and secondary pieces. Ben Lively has been a bit of a savior for them, and even he missed the first month due to some health issues. So for this team to have had all the health issues they've had, and somehow, last year they were a historically terrible offense, and they still have a lot of issues with that offense, but the bullpen is really what has more than anything else carried this team, and it's been the most productive bullpen I've ever seen.
Well, when I see Jose Ramirez, 31 homers, 27 doubles, Stephen Kwan batting .325, Josh Naylor, 26 home runs, David Fry having a pretty good year. I don't know. On paper, it looks like a pretty good offense to me.
You got the big 3. Fry is kind of imploded since June. Last 2 months is like weighted runs created plus, which takes all of the data, boils it down. 100 is average. He's been at like a high 50, so he's like almost 4 derivations. So Fry's come back to earth. Part of that's health, but yeah, you kind of look around the rest of that lineup, and the big 3 is an excellent big 3. Don't get me wrong, I am very happy with those guys. They're trying and keep hoping some of these young players are going to step in. It just hasn't been there as much. None of their young guys have stepped forward. Maybe in a few years we'll have younger Chourio in center field for us, since he's moving up through the system.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the funniest things, is just the connections with these organizations, as there are many.
It is. Even your play-by-play broadcaster, Tom Hamilton, is from Wisconsin. He's from Waterloo. I know Tom a long time.
Yeah, him, and he was with Hegan before Hegan retired, and wasn't Hegan mostly a Brewers catcher as well before that?
Yeah, he was the first baseman. He was a
first baseman.
He was a sportscaster at WTMJ TV in Milwaukee back in the 70s. So yeah, he was a good guy. I was sorry to see him pass. The starting pitcher for the Brewers is Sabathia on Friday night. He's on a short rope with me. I wasn't overly bowled over by that trade, but he played with the Guardians for a while. What do you see with Sabathia? What did you guys experience with that guy?
He was like a 4-5 type. His biggest bugaboo is he would have like 1 month where he looked like he was going to be a 2, and then he'd have 3 months where he was hurt. Like he just could not stay healthy. And as a Cleveland fan, I thought at the time, like, let's sell high, even though like they were like a game and a half when they traded him out, and they got an interesting prospect who still has not had an extended opportunity in the big leagues with Kyle Manzardo. But he's a solid, reliable, maybe peaks at a 3 when he's hot, but more of a 4 or 5, 2 to 3 pitches, just a solid, reliable arm, which frankly, when you look at the cost of guys like that at the deadline, I think the Brewers kind of got a steal by buying him a little bit early because pitching skyrocketed about 2 weeks after they acquired him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going against Devin Williams. Big strikeouts. I think Gavin's got averages right around 10 strikeouts a game for Cleveland.
Yeah, and he is. The last game he was untouchable, and then the game before that he was very touchable. And he's been kind of fiddling with his pitch mix since he's come back. He's only had 8 starts this year, 39 innings. There's some concern with like his overall elbow. It was the elbow that was causing him issues, so he hasn't been throwing his slider as much, I want to say. That was like his number 2 pitch a year ago. He's kind of trying to alleviate that. So when the curve is going, he's about as tough as it gets. But if it's not moving well, then he turns into a 2-pitch guy. And like I said, he dominated the Twins, and then was it like Arizona the week before that? He went 3 to 4 innings. So he's either one end or he's the other.
Jeff Ellis from Locked On Guardians joining us. Emmanuel Clase. My 12-year-old thinks he's Emmanuel Clase when he goes out and pitches Little League Baseball. And not a bad guy to model after. 37 saves, an ERA of 0.67, having a Cy Young type year.
Yeah, I saw that his career ERA is at 1.74. It doesn't qualify, but if it did, it'd be the lowest ERA in MLB history.
Oh.
That's kind of where he is. Like Ed Walsh, who I believe pitched in like the 1920s, is current leader at like 191. So he has been unbelievable. And it's just kind of funny because, yeah, he does throw 102 miles an hour, and he does have this microscopic ERA, but he doesn't miss bats. Like if you look, his strikeout rate is under 8, which is not what you expect for a guy. It's not getting good contact. Guys just cannot seem to square him up, and he's just really hard to face. And the downside of it is, with all that contact, is there are just some freaky, funky hits that will happen, like just those random bloops. But at the end of the day, this is a guy who's barely given up any runs this year. Was it 4 earned runs so far in the year in 56 innings? Like he's been excellent, about as good as one could ask.
Yeah, he's been the man. I like your manager, Stephen Vogt. He played here. I liked when he played here. I wanted him for the manager. I'm not saying I didn't want Pat Murphy, but before Murphy was even a candidate, I like Stephen Vogt. Tell me how good he's been for the Cleveland Guardians.
I live in Milwaukee, and that's what my neighbor, man, he got so mad when we hired him. He was just like, that's who I wanted. You guys got a good one. And he has been a great one. You can nitpick here or there, but the players respond well to him. He had to go into a hard situation. I mean, replacing Tito Francona and how he had been here all of these years and all of those wins, and as a no doubt Hall of Famer. And you got to step in as a rookie who hasn't really managed before, but he's been very flexible. He has been great about moving guys up and down the lineup, understanding, okay, you're better against righties or lefties. The bullpen, they have 3 guys who are just unbelievable, 3 closers essentially, and deploying them effectively. He's been really good about not being stuck in the idea of, well, it's a 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guy. No, it's like high leverage deployment. So a lot of positives in that regard. Coaching staff's been great. A lot of guys have shown really strong defensive improvement. I don't have any complaints at all. I think he should be up there as a manager of the year candidate. This is a team that, had the 9th worst record in baseball a year ago and is almost the exact same team.
Mm-hmm. What about the argument because I do use this with Milwaukee, NL Central, bad division. Can you use that argument in the AL Central?
And right now, the 2 wildcard teams are going to come out of the AL Central, and it's not the unbalanced schedule. So it's not just picking on the White Sox. So, was it 25% of the White Sox wins have come against Cleveland? Cleveland has a losing record against the White Sox. They're that one team in baseball who can't beat the White Sox. Yeah, I think they're like 5-3 right now, or 3-5 as Cleveland, I should say. But yeah, Cleveland just, they took the season series from the Baltimore Orioles. They took the season series from the Minnesota Twins, and they still got 4 more games to go. They've been beating up on the good teams. And I think, like, with them, I'm not as concerned because they have shown up well against those strong teams. And, like I said, they're not sitting there getting rich on the White Sox. They're not sitting there beating. I mean, they did beat up on the Tigers recently, especially after those trades. But you got to play everyone about the same amount. And yeah, they tend to rise to the occasion. They beat Philly when they faced Philly right before Philly. Like we kind of brag in Cleveland, we pushed Philly over that cliff that they've been kind of falling from. That was the start of it for them.
Well, you took 3 from the Cubs this week. That's always good to see. And the Cubs aren't going for anything these days except for nothing. I mean, they're out of things, in my opinion. But it was good to see you guys take 3 from these guys.
No, it's I think that's one of those things where Milwaukee and Cleveland can kind of all agree is a strong dislike of the Cubs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it's World Series, of course, 2016. Yes, I was pulling for you guys. Don't trust me on that. All right. Now the Brewers look at this week. Just got done with 4 games to the Dodgers and with Cleveland, another first place team coming in here. It's kind of a litmus test for the Milwaukee Brewers, how they do against these really good teams. How does Cleveland look at coming into Milwaukee? How do you look at playing a team like Milwaukee this weekend?
I think, if I'm being honest, a lot of the fans probably don't know the Brewers as well. It's a situation where, they kind of mirror Cleveland, right? Like, people did not have the biggest expectations entering the year, especially after the Corbin Burns deal. I was as guilty as anyone of thinking that, hey, Adames and other guys might be on the move, but instead, they've been one of the best teams in baseball. And I think, for Cleveland fans coming in, it's going to be more of a chance to get to know these players that they haven't got a chance to know. There's a lot of really good players on Milwaukee. I don't know if everyone's realizes that, when the question is who won the Sean Murphy deal, that it's the Milwaukee Brewers. Cleveland wanted Murphy for those years and they couldn't get him. So it's like a chance to see a lot of players they're not as familiar with. And then to see the guys that, Andrew Monasterio, Cleveland prospect, Jake Bowers was part of one of Cleveland's big failed trades. Eric Haas drafted and developed by Cleveland. Talked about Savali. Tobias Myers they won't see him this weekend, but he was another guy in Cleveland's minors. So for a lot of fans, it's kind of the fun that there's a lot of familiar names.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jeff, thanks a lot. Should be a fun series. And maybe we'll see you in the postseason. You never know.
I would love that. Let's make that happen. That would be fantastic.
All right. Thanks for taking some time. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the games.
You too.
Jeff Ellis from Locked On Guardians joining us. That's going to do it for Locked On Brewers. On the Locked On Podcast Network, we are your team every day. For your second listen, go to Locked On MLB. Our guy Sully's got all the baseball news Monday through Friday on Locked On MLB. See you all Sunday night after Game 3 of the series with the Guardians. Have yourself a great weekend, everybody. Chuck Freeman on Locked On Brewers.